coming in. You're not coming in. You're not invited. Do something else. Do something else.
And he's really, really... all I can say is agitated.
Okay.
I'm dying in the fire! In the fire!
We're not frightened of you. I'm really frightened.
Me.
God.
This right there is British television history. Psychic that yells for Sam and someone that screams at dust. Somehow, it worked for almost a decade. I'm talking about Most Haunted, the show that somehow managed to convince millions of people that not only did ghosts exist, but they could turn up every 5 minutes. And at the centre of it all, Derek Acorah, a man so dramatically possessed that he made possessions look like some form of interpretive dance. But behind the screaming, behind the table tipping, behind the claims of "did you hear that?", behind people being pulled upstairs, people being pushed over so hard that their hair fell out, there is a story of how fame, fakery, and ego turned Britain's favourite ghost show into a haunted relic.
You think after all these years of doing ghost investigations I'd be as cool as a cucumber, but I'm not.
So dust off your long black coats, dim the lights, and let's channel the spirits of British TV executives chasing the ratings. This is the rise and fall of Most Haunted, and the very human downfall of Derek Acorah.
He certainly doesn't want us here.
Come out of the shadows and talk to us.
You are shit.
I'm really frightened. What you mean?
It's really odd.
All right, Derek.
Early 2000s Britain was in a weird place. Big Brother had just taught us that voyeurism was, well, entertainment. And then came along a show called Most Haunted, which was like, what if we combine reality TV with Scooby-Doo, minus the dog, minus the logic, but double the screaming? So in 2002, Yvette Fielding and Karl Beattie under Antics Productions produced Most Haunted. It was shown on Living TV, which is a cable channel or a Sky TV channel in the UK. And their idea was actually simple. Put a crew of people in an old building, turn off the lights, and film people scaring themselves silly. It was cheap, it was chaotic, it was brilliant. Derek Acorah, former footballer turned psychic medium. He quickly became the show's MVP, and MVP in this case stands for Most Valuable Possession. Unintended. He didn't just talk to ghosts, this man became the ghost. Every episode was a acting workshop where Derek, well, he played the entire Victorian cast of Les Mis. Imagine being Derek's acting coach. More ghosts, Derek. More ghosts. The show's early years were a phenomenon. Most Haunted live events were national TV moments. Most Haunted went worldwide. People were holding viewing parties. I took part in these viewing parties. Every Halloween, me and my friends, Most Haunted live, beer, snacks, watch Most Haunted, and then nip down to the local abbey to see if we could talk to ghosts. Other people would be watching the show and they'd be texting in all these strange sightings they were having while watching the show. People believed it was real. People still believe it was real. I believed it was real. It was the perfect storm. It was the first mainstream TV ghost hunting show in the UK. Gullible audiences, dramatic hosts, and just enough pseudoscience to seem credible. Looking back, the first few seasons actually had quite a bit of charm to them. The crew felt like real people. Yvette seemed genuinely terrified. Karl wasn't so much centre stage, he was just the cameraman. And Derek? Well, Derek was doing community theatre with the dead. But with the fame came pressure. Most Haunted quickly became the paranormal version of the X Factor. Bigger sets, bigger reactions, and eventually, much bigger problems. Because when your show relies on things going bump in the night, you eventually start bumping them yourself. By 2004, Most Haunted had become a full-blown franchise. They had merchandise, conventions, the live shows, a growing team of investigators. Even the hair and makeup ladies were getting involved and becoming famous. And somewhere along the line, the show stopped becoming an experiment and it started to become way more of a production. Every episode needed a ghost. Every live show needed drama. And when the spirits didn't deliver, when the knocks weren't freely coming, that's what Derek was for.
Mary loves Dick. Mary loves Dick. Mary loves Dick.
Enter Dr. Kieran O'Keefe, resident parapsychologist and professional buzzkill. And I'm mostly joking there because Kieran O'Keefe is a huge influence on me, alongside Taps, where they actually went out and debunked things in the early episodes. Dr. Kieran O'Keefe led some credibility, and for a while, Dr. Kieran O'Keefe was the villain of the show. Something would happen, Kieran would explain it, and the audience would groan like, "Oh, Kieran, let us take the ghost, damn you." His job was to lend the show some scientific credibility. Instead, he accidentally started one of the biggest scandals in paranormal TV history. Now, recently, this story has come into a little bit of contention because Richard Felix, the most haunted historian, did an interview with the Paranormal Monkey podcast, and on the podcast, he said that he wasn't 100% sure that Kieran was actually responsible for what happened next. He may have been the fall guy. But in our world, for this story, the events went like this. Kieran suspected that Derek may be getting a little bit too creative, so he tested him. He created 2 fake ghosts, Creed Kafer and Rick Edels. Both were anagrams, Derek Lies and Derek Faker. Because the universe has a really dark sense of humour, Derek immediately picked up on both ghosts in 2 separate episodes. I mean, that's one way to fail a background check. Watching it now feels like a parody sketch. Derek dramatically channeling a ghost that never existed, and the crew, well, they just pretend not to slowly die inside or implode on set.
Creed Kefir.
But the show wasn't innocent here, because in editing, when they put this out to the general public, they spelled Creed Kafer different to how Kieran had intended. They spelled it Creedkafer, not Kreedkafer. They added a letter and they swapped the letter, so the audience at home wouldn't realise that Derek had been rumbled.
Creed Kefir.
In other words, Most Haunted's editing team kept the lie rolling. The revelation hit like a sledgehammer. Most Haunted fans were furious. Skeptics were ecstatic. Living TV, well, they had a bit of a PR nightmare. You have to understand how big this show was. The show that promised real ghost encounters, well, it accidentally exposed its own psychic medium as well. A bit medium. Yvette later admitted that she felt betrayed. Which is kind of fair, because I imagine it's hard to keep a straight face when your psychic medium is channeling a ghost called Derek Faker. Yvette wasn't innocent in all of this. She played the hurt victim, yet. But many people have come out to say that this was set up because Derek was the star of the show and not Yvette Fielding. Richard Felix has become quite vocal about it. Gwen Acorah recently brought out a book, Haunted and Hallowed by Derek Acorah. Gwen emailed me before the book was published asking could she use some of my work from my episodes on Most Haunted to show that Derek wasn't 100% at fault for everything. From Creed Kafer hitting the news, the cracks spread fast. Rumours were flying that Derek was faking possessions or staging possessions. Crew members had allegedly caught him researching locations in the bathroom, leaving his microphone on, Googling things later on down the line. That his dramatic outbursts were actually scripted. There are people saying that Most Haunted was entirely scripted. Richard Felix, one of the few people to walk away from that show alongside Kieran O'Keefe, said that he never ever saw a script. But it was unfortunate because Derek Acorah, this once beloved star, had become a liability. Behind the scenes, things got ugly. Reports later surfacing that Derek's possessions were sometimes a bit more physical than what we, the viewers, saw. Shouting, swearing, lashing out and assaulting the crew. The chaos was great TV, terrible workplace practices. It all climaxed in 2005 when Karl and Yvette slowly just kind of dropped Derek from the show. Officially, he was moving on to new projects. Unofficially, he was fired faster than a ghost from a cold spot. Most Haunted tried to move on without Derek. but the damage was done. Derek was the star of the show. The illusion was broken, and viewers didn't trust the ghosts anymore. And soon, they wouldn't trust the show. After the Creed Kafer debacle, Most Haunted became that show that was in an awkward position where people didn't believe it anymore. And let's be honest, it's like finding out that Gordon Ramsay can't cook or that Bear Grylls is actually sleeping in your local travel lodge. Yvette Fielding must have had a very difficult decision to make. Double down on Derek, cut him loose before credibility collapsed completely. Spoiler alert, it was option B. They ghosted the ghost guy. Officially, Derek was moving on. Yvette later confirmed this in interviews, and she said, and I quote, "He had to go," which is PR speak for, "We caught him pretending to be possessed by the intern's lunch." But things didn't end neatly. Rumours about what actually happened behind the scenes started circling. The public, the newspapers, all started to find out about Rick Edels and Kreed Kafer. And then, according to Yvette, after Derek had passed away, which has never sat right with me, like, why wait for a man to die before speaking so badly about him? But she claimed that he spat at her, insulted her, made crude comments about her, and inappropriately touched her, all while he was supposedly channeling ghosts. And I do wonder if this is the first time in sort of history where somebody's had to go to HR and be like, demonic possession made me do it. The relationship between Most Haunted, Yvette, and Derek Acorah just completely disintegrated. Yvette apparently felt humiliated, Derek felt betrayed, and fans were left wondering, had any of it been real? And maybe I'm looking back with rose-tinted glasses with the way I've just described that. Because there was definitely a moment towards the end of Derek's run where people were becoming quite annoyed with him. Like, oh, is he getting possessed again? Or you had fun with it and you were sat with glee waiting for the Derek possession. Like, go on, Derek. Go on, Derek. I was one of those guys. But things got worse. Ofcom, the British TV watchdog, stepped in. They reviewed Most Haunted after numerous complaints of fakery, and Ofcom's conclusion was the following: the show wasn't guilty of deception because the show was for entertainment purposes. Roughly translated to, it's fake, you signed up for it, you idiots. The firing of Derek marked the end of Most Haunted's golden era. Without Derek's chaos, the show suddenly felt, well, hollow, and other people stepped in trying to be dramatic, like Stuart Torville getting slapped and pushed over all the time. The nightclub demonologist that was caught throwing stones. It was like the ghost hunting show had lost its ghosts. And ratings started to dip, fans moved on to Zach Bagans and Taps and Haunted Collector. There was a whole host of shows created in the vein of Most Haunted, some with more realism, and some amping everything up to 11. But Derek was about to face the harshest spirit of them all: public ridicule. After being booted from Most Haunted, Derek tried to prove that he didn't need Karl and Yvette. He launched a few of his own shows. One of them I watched, Derek Acorah's Ghost Towns. It was basically Most Haunted on a road trip with less of a budget, less people, and less flamboyant and less entertaining. It wasn't terrible, it just wasn't Most Haunted. Without the crew chemistry and the live chaos, it felt more like a ghost-themed travel vlog. Derek then leaned into his national psychic persona. He was doing theatre, he was doing talk shows, and occasionally he tried to summon ghosts of people like Michael Jackson on live TV. But the damage from Most Haunted followed him everywhere. Every interviewer, every tabloid headline about him was the same question: did you fake it? And in 2017, Derek appeared on Celebrity Big Brother. And to nobody's surprise, he was just kind of introduced as the ghost guy. And unfortunately, Derek's appearances everywhere were awkward, kind of part nostalgia, part public therapy session. You could see he was trying to reclaim his image, but the ghost of Most Haunted was always lurking behind him. And here's the sad part: Derek wasn't evil. He was just a performer that believed his performance. And he was pushed to perform by the people that fired him. And when Karl and Yvette turned on him, when Most Haunted turned on him, the media followed suit. They turned a national TV psychic into a national punchline. But in his defense, Derek took it all in his stride at times. He actually got involved with mocking himself and doing skits about himself and his behaviour. Meanwhile, Karl and Yvette moved on. New psychic mediums came and went, and none of them had an ounce of the flamboyance or the character of Derek. Karl and Yvette eventually would move on to DVDs and tours, a YouTube revival. Karl and Yvette kept the brand, Derek kept the blame. And the irony is that most Haunted weren't exactly truthful either. Former team members have admitted that they'd staged or enhanced events to make episodes watchable. So yes, Derek did fake ghosts, but the show faked reality. Richard Felix said it recently on a podcast. He said it to me privately that we had to produce a ghost every 5 minutes. Produce a ghost. It's kind of poetic, really. The man accused of lying and faking on a fake TV show became the fall guy for an industry built on creative lying. After Derek's exit, Most Haunted limped along. The show tried changing things up, the crew was ever evolving, and there were gadgets introduced, and anything to try and fill this Derek-shaped hole, and none of it worked. But the magic was gone, the madness was gone, the entertainment was gone. Ratings fell, and Sky's Living TV cancelled it in 2011. The brand had eventually shifted into YouTube, where it pops up occasionally like a digital ghost that refuses to move on. To this day, some fans will still debate whether the early episodes of the show were real. Some still defend Derek, and others, well, they treat him as the poster boy for fakery. But here's what's undeniable. Derek was the show. Personality, his dramatics, his theatrics, his sheer commitment to the absolute nonsense. That's what made Most Haunted legendary. That's why Yvette felt such jealousy towards Derek, apparently. That's why he had to go. Sadly, Derek passed away in 2020. And in another of those darkly ironic twists, tributes came from the same people that were mocking him. Yvette herself, paid respects. She said she'd remember the laughter and not a lot else, which is either kind of sweet or really brutal. Love him or hate him, Derek made a mark on British TV. He showed us how belief can blur into performance, and how fame can chew you up faster than a haunted demonic entity. In the end, Most Haunted, it wasn't about the ghosts. It was about performance, it was about belief, and the really strange things that people will do for attention. Derek wasn't the villain. Derek was the symptom. Perhaps he was a man so desperate to prove himself that he started to believe his own act. And honestly, that's the real haunting. Not the spirits, but what chasing them does to people. And genuinely, rest in peace Derek Acorah, the man, the myth, the medium who got fired for being too fake for a fake paranormal TV show. To Most Haunted, congratulations, you truly were.
If there's anybody here...
Yeah, Yvette, the ratings, they are well behind you.